It has been a busy few weeks for the Birmingham City Academy. With some of the youngsters signing their first professional deals, the Academy also received a prestigious rating in the Elite Player Performance Plan for productivity in the past 3 years. We caught up with Blues Academy manager Kristjaan Speakman to tell us a little bit more about what's been happening at Wast Hills.
Kristjaan, this is a busy time of year for you. You're making various decisions on the Academy scholars. Can you describe the processes that you and your team are going through?
Yeah, we try to be as detailed as possible and undertake as much due diligence as possible with the players. As you can appreciate, it's a massively difficult time for them in terms of them having the anxiety of a decision looming on the progress of their career. And what we do is we try to start from January this year to discuss with the manager on at least 3, maybe 4 occasions what our thoughts are on the player, give the under-21 staff and the senior staff an opportunity to try to view the players, and then obviously look at, in terms of our succession planning, where they're going to fit in. It's really, really important for us that if you're giving a player an opportunity to gain a registration at professional terms at 19, there is a pathway in terms of where they're going to play, where they're likely to feature in the squad, and them getting obviously the game time, providing they do well enough throughout the period of their contract. So that's really, really important. It gets summarised within our technical board meetings in February, so they run quarterly. Julia Shelton operates them for us on behalf of the club, and it's a mix of the senior academy staff and the senior football staff of the club, where we then obviously look to ratify the decisions and come to a collective agreement.
So in regards to Ronan Hale and Odin Bale, it's a little bit different. Both those boys have been given extended professional contracts.
Yeah, it will be a little bit different for them players. It'd be my job to report back into the first team manager and to the board in terms of who's doing well and any difference we might have to make with their registration in their terms. One of the things that the managers have been very proactive on is trying to secure the boys who have shown to be doing really, really well in their age group. Have we protected ourselves in terms of offering the right registration? Obviously at the top end that means professional terms, and it's great to get the support from the club to be able to offer them players the terms they've had and keep them at the club. I think it's also really important for the player to be able to understand where they currently are. First of all, it's a great reward for them. There's obviously some financial incentives there, but a lot of the time the deals are put together based on time. So look at young Ronan Hale, he's signing a 3.5-year contract, and for him he's over the moon that he's got a period of time that he can prove his worth getting into our first team.
Mm-hmm. And similarly with Josh Martin, Odin Bailey, he's 16, but obviously you've identified the talent there and rewarded him as such.
Yeah, certainly. It's always going to be a competitive marketplace, and that's been seen across the country over the recent years with players moving from club to club. We certainly felt that Odin had done really, really well, and we felt he needed to be rewarded. He played almost every single game this year in the under-18 group, and as such, we felt that we wanted to offer a little bit further in terms of length. That takes him through to the end of his under-19 years current contract that he's just signed, and then gives him a great opportunity over the next 2.5 years to get in and around that under-21 squad, and be in and around the manager's viewpoint, and hopefully within that period he'll be able to maybe renegotiate and sign again for another longer period.
And the Academy recently received a prestigious rating under the EPPP programme. Tell us a little bit more about this productivity thing. How can you explain it to us?
Yeah, the productivity, it's clouded in a little bit of mystery, the productivity scores. They ran a productivity score during the last cycle of the audit back in 2012, which included a various number of parameters. One of the things that it did include was the fact that some of the players who went out on loan at senior clubs, certainly the Premier League clubs will be gaining some points towards that, which that's been really taken away now. And productivity has been looked in terms of academy graduates going into your first team and participating in games. Obviously for us, we've got the privilege of having boys that have gone into our first team programme, but we've also accumulating points for the boys we've then sold on to other clubs. Obviously the likes of Jack, Nathan, Jordan and now Dimmy are accruing points playing Premier League football. It's a delight for us because it's sometimes difficult to put a measure on how well you're doing in our industry. Obviously we don't have a Saturday to Saturday 3 points and it would sort of signify where you're doing well as a first team environment would have. So something like that which is taken completely independently to rank us over the last 3 years as like 5th best in the country is obviously something the staff are really, really proud of, and it's something that you can obviously hang your hat on to try to retain your players in your programme in terms of that's where we are countrywide, and certainly from a recruitment perspective it's a great tool.
And that is a sort of tangible evidence for boys and parents who are considering Birmingham City Academy that there is that pathway there?
Yeah, certainly. I think over the last 4 years with this elite player performance plan, there's been a lot more literature out there and a lot more discussion about, well, what is a really good programme. We've always sort of hung our hat on the fact that it's about the coaching of the players, individual programme for the players, a bespoke programme if you like, but then also having an opportunity to go through and play. So whether you're a 16-year-old like an Odin playing up in the 18s, or whether like you're an under-17 Josh Martin today going in with the 21 squad, we want to try to raise the profile of them young players getting an opportunity to play. We don't hold a large group of players in any of the squads, but there's opportunities for them to transition between the squads. And I think a lot more people now are taking a little bit more notice of that. I think going forward, the removal of the emergency loan window is going to hinge a lot on that as well, in terms of these players that are at clubs who aren't getting an opportunity in their first team. It's going to be more difficult for them to get loaned out. And obviously clubs are going to start looking from within. And the manager's already proved that this year with like Viv Solomon. You know, he's actively stated in all our meetings in terms of he wants to get Viv as a major part of the squad. You know, he's played 20 times this season, which is great for him. And hopefully next season he can kick on and be a real significant part of the squad.
You mentioned Gary Rowett earlier. You've got a very close relationship with the manager and the first team group. What other measures have you sort of implemented in the last sort of few months to the last year to hopefully enhance the whole academy?
Well, I think first of all, it's great to have a manager that trusts the programme and trusts your leadership of the programme. So our manager's got a real clarity in terms of how he wants the team to play and what he needs out of the players. And he's been along, he's delivered that with our staff on CPD events. Through the technical board meetings, he's articulated what he's after. That means it's really easy for us to be able to identify what our players have got to be able to do to get into a Gary Rowett team. That's really, really important. And then the second thing from a trust perspective is allowing you to get on with your job. He would be very, very clear in terms of what he's after, but he would also leave it completely open to you in terms of how you're going to go about it. From time to time, he'll offer, advice or have a discussion about certain things. It's really, really good as well that it's an open forum. You can propose things to him. He might disagree with them, he might agree with them, and then we sort of crack on and press on. And that's really, really important, I think. I think the staff have found that really, really refreshing in terms of there is a trust in what you're trying to do, but there's also real clarity in message.
You've also made some staffing, not changes, but appointments, shall we say. Can you enlighten us a little bit further on those as well?
I think one of the things when we did a sort of a review at the end of last season was how can we improve the programme? How can we keep pace with what's going on out there, and what do we want to keep pace with, and what do we think is not that important? We operate with a limited financial budget, as anyone does, and we're really, really well supported in terms of that from the board, from Panos and Roger, the finance director. Always very open to discussions on how we can improve it, as long as there's some real leverage in terms of the return on the investment. One of the things we wanted to do last year, which we managed to implement, was bringing in some new members of staff. So in terms of the full-time staff, we brought in Stuart English as an assistant academy manager to help manage the day-to-day running of the programme, the schoolboy programme, and also an overview of the coach education and coach development that we're trying to do. We've really driven a learning environment with the staff. Lots and lots of events around them getting better, which I think they've really, really enjoyed. And then we've also tried to change the delivery mix for the players a little bit as well, in terms of bringing in some ex-players and ex-professionals who we felt could add some value. So two names as supporters would be really understanding was Marcus Painter and Matt Sadler, who come in to get involved with our 15s and 16s group. Both boys who came through the academy programme and have really been delighted to be sort of invited in to come and add some value. And then we've also Deli Alabolas come in to help work with the 13s and 14s group, and Dion Burton's working with the 14s group. So we felt that we had some real expertise in terms of the development side, and what we wanted to try to do was add a little bit of experience from some of the players that have played for the club, and try to get that culture in terms of putting something back into the programme. Certainly for 3 of the 4 I've just mentioned, they've obviously played for the football club. So that's really, really important. On top of that, we've also looked at dual role some aspects. So Wes Hughes, our under 11s coach at the minute, has come on a full-time basis as a safeguarding services manager for the club, but he's also going to be working with our 12s to 13s, 14s group on the coaching side. So that makes a big improvement to our continuity of delivery and keeping a real consistent message. We want to obviously retain as many of them staff as possible, and obviously for part-time staff it's obviously difficult because they can often get swayed with other things, and getting them in the club on a full-time basis and a slightly different structure is obviously, we think, very, very good business in terms of our expenditure for the value that they're giving back to the programme.
Finally, I know you don't like to stand still, you're always striving for improvement. What's the next step? What are the next aims for Birmingham City Academy?
Well, in terms of for next season, certainly trying to get more overseas activities. We think there's a value in trying to understand the player by spending a little bit more time with them. We've embarked this year on individual learning guides and trying to really bespoke the programme for the players. There's some aspects of that need chopping and changing and developing and improving, which we're constantly going through a review period at the minute. And really, it will be a little bit next season in terms of consolidation. We've had this new staff, new processes come on board. We want to try to add and develop them, but also we want to maximise the resources we've got available now at the football club. And I think if you look at our programme, we're not far off the same sort of staffing structure you'd expect to see at a Category 1 programme. The facilities obviously keeps year on year getting more investment, and we're hoping that's going to continue this summer. So we're certainly keeping pace, if not catching up with some of the work that's going on out there. And next year we've got our audit, so that's going to take up a fairly substantial amount of time trying to put the club in the best light for that process, and try if we can to attain some of the scores that we got last time, because last time's scores were comparable to anyone in the country in terms of our coaching programme and our philosophy to developing players.
And hopefully you keep on producing those players like the Butlands, the Redmonds, the Greys for the first team, which the club has done very well at over the past few years.
Yeah, no, certainly. I think that's a really, really nice pressure. I find that really nice pressure. You know, the amount of people you go around now and say, who's next? And you think, flipping out, we've got to keep producing and keep producing. But I think with any organisation, the danger is the complacency. You know, we can sit and talk about some of the players that have come through this programme, which is really, really great. But we've solidly turned our attention to, right, who's coming through. So your Ronans, your Josh Martins, Odin Baileys, and the groups at 15, 14 and 13. That's where our attention is, making sure that we can secure the future. And like I say, hopefully every single year we'll have one or two trickling through to the manager's team.